Hi, this is Elena from Financialdemics.com, where I give you the tips and the tools to manage your money, increase your savings and your income, and decrease your debt. And today, I'm going to share with you how to get out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you don't miss another one of my uploads. Around this time last year, a survey was done and it turns out that 78% of US workers are living paycheck to paycheck. So at some point, I feel like everybody knows what that is, except for, those who are rich or come from rich families. But that's basically you don't have any savings. You are dependent on your paycheck every single month to cover your expenses and do all the things that you want to do. After I graduated from college and got my first job, I went through a cycle where I was continuously running out of money before the next payday. And I don't even mean like a day before. I mean like a whole nother week on like $20 easily. I got tired of living that way because I was a mother, a single mother at the time, and things would come up and I did not necessarily have the money to pay for it. And because I didn't have the money to pay for it, I either was charging it or trying to figure out some other way to pay for it because I had already spent most of my paycheck the week before. And in my case, I can truly say that I didn't have a lot of expenses at the time. I just wasn't good with managing money. But I get it. There are some of you who has a high amount of expenses that they have to pay every month, and you are just really doing everything you can do at this moment to get by. So the first thing that you need to do is figure out where your money is going. Personally, the way that I do this is I will print down my bank statements. If you're using a credit card on a regular basis, you should also print down that statement also. And then I always like to go back at least 3 months. And this is why. Because when you look over a 3-month time span, you can get a good idea of how you're actually spending your money. For me to go back a month, there may have been other things that were going on that affected the way that I was actually spending. And then to go back 2 months, you really can't determine whether or not was this a normal month for me or was this an abnormal month for me. And then that third month will really give you an idea. Well, if I spent the same way in these 2 months, well, this is how I normally spend my money on a monthly basis. So when you're looking at your statements, you need to start marking what the charges are for. So you should look at, okay, if I spent money on food, where did I spend it at? Was it groceries? Was it eating out? Was it lunch? Those are the categories that you normally would have for your food. And then I'm looking at my monthly expenses. Okay, I paid rent. Okay, I paid for electric. Did you pay for gas? Did you pay for water? Your car payment, your insurance, all of those larger things, I would mark those down. I will also mark down if you took out money from the ATM, if you went shopping, and if you remember what you purchased, you can kind of know like, okay, I purchased this for so and so. But you can't just mark it as shopping. Did you pay tithe? How much tithe did you pay over that time? How much did you pay towards your cell phone bill? How much did you pay for any debt that you currently owe? So credit cards, personal loans, car payments, student loans, all of those items, you would actually list them out. You should also track how much income did you bring in. Depending on the type of job that you have, you may receive the same amount in your paycheck every single pay period, whereas others may work either some overtime or you work a different amount of hours each week. So your paycheck will change with each time you get paid. So you want to make sure, okay, I know I'm spending this much on expenses for the month. How much did I make? And is my income higher than what I spent, or is what I spent higher than my income? Once you know that, then you can actually sit down and create a budget. So I've talked about budgets pretty often, you can click that little link up above or check the description box down below, and I will have a full playlist on all my budget videos. Pick the budgeting method that works for you so you can start tracking your spending. But I'm a really big fan of giving every dollar a name, and so I like a zero-based budget because I basically make a plan for all of my money, whether it is to spend, whether it's for fun, whether it's for bills, whether it's for investments or debt. Everybody has a home as far as my dollars are concerned. Now, one part of budgeting that I feel like always gets missed is analyzing your spending. So at the end of either that paycheck period, when you're getting your new paycheck, or at the end of the month, just depending on how you actually budget, make sure that you sit down and compare how you plan to spend your money in your budget to how you actually spent the money. It's important to do this because when you initially set a budget, it is not going to be right. And people seem to think that if they don't get their budget right the first time, then they're not good at it and then they don't want to continue doing it. But that's not true. No one gets their budget right the first time. It takes multiple times to get your budget right. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, sometimes more. So you need to analyze your budget and make sure that you adjust for anything that was not realistic, right? Or for something that happened that you forgot to include in your budget. For example, maybe you have like an expense that is ran quarterly instead of monthly, and it came out the first month you decided to budget because you forgot about it. It's okay. You just adjust for it in the next month and make sure you set money aside for it so when it comes, you won't be shocked. While you are making your budget, also notate the expenses that you have that you could cut or reduce. So there may be some smaller expenses that you have that you don't necessarily use that item, or you could possibly like reduce maybe a package that you have of that item. But also look at those larger expenses. What adjustments can you make for your larger expenses? Those will have the biggest impact when you're looking to cut your expenses. You should also stop adding new debt. When you're adding new debt, that's going to also create a shift in your expenses. You're going to have more to pay because anytime you add something new, even if it's a credit card, your minimum payment will go up, especially if you're not paying it off every single month. Once you finish paying off your debt, that's less money that you're going to be paying out on a monthly basis. And so now you have that money to use for the things that you actually want to do, whether that is build your savings or your emergency fund, invest and build wealth, or buy a home, or even take that trip, start a business. There's so many other things that you can do with the money that you're currently paying out towards debt. So creating a plan to pay off debt will definitely help get you out of that paycheck to paycheck cycle. You also want to build a starter emergency fund. So if you have seen my starter emergency fund video, which I will have linked down below, and you should be able to see it right here, I talk about having a starter emergency fund of at least 1 month of your expenses. There are several ways that you can build your starter emergency fund. So the first thing before you even start to build it, I want you to open up a bank account at an online bank far away, or either a bank account across town, somewhere where it makes it difficult for you to access the account. So you're only going to go there if you absolutely need it. Once you have that set up, make sure you change your direct deposit at your job to have some money automatically sent over into that account. Now, I personally like for you to at least do 10%, But if you can't do that, do what you can do. Don't just throw the whole idea out the window because you can't do what I said do or somebody else said do. If you can't do 10%, do 1%, do $25, do $50, do $100. Pick a number that you are comfortable with and start having that money automatically go over to that savings account. Now, there are absolutely other ways that you could build your starter emergency fund. You can use the raises that you get from work. You can actually calculate the difference and have that difference go over to your savings account and not live on your raise. Continue living on the amount that you were getting paid before your raise. You can use your bonuses and send either some or all of your bonus over to that account to help you get to that 1 month of expenses mark. You can use your tax refund, and you can side hustle. So you can have all the money that you get from any side hustles that you are doing and have that money directly go over to your savings account until you reach that 1 month of expenses. And then you can decide if you want to continue saving so that you can get a fully funded emergency fund, or if you want to actually pay off your debt. And if you're not sure about what side hustles you can do, then check out my playlist on side hustles down below. And the last thing that you can do to stop the paycheck to paycheck cycle is increase your income. I already kind of led into it when I mentioned the side hustles to fund your starter emergency fund. Well, I want you to increase your income. You can only cut expenses so much. A lot of times when I work with clients, they just really need to increase their income. You can increase your income, of course, through side hustles. Depending on the type of job that you work, you can also work more overtime, and you can sell items around your home that you're not necessarily using. So that's a way to bring in some money that you either can put towards your starter emergency fund or towards your debt so that you're cutting your expenses. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are living the paycheck to paycheck cycle, do not feel bad. I have been there before and I worked really hard to get out of that cycle, so I know you can do it also. Let me know in the comments down below which tip resonated with you the most and what steps you're going to do to stop the cycle. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like this video, and I will see you next week with a new one. Bye.